Seattle, we see you. The gleaming skyscrapers, the promise of innovation, the coffee, always the damn coffee. But behind the facade, a crisis festers. This isn't about latte prices, folks. This is about homes, or the lack thereof. Seattle's housing crisis isn't just about rent, it's about a system rigged against its own people. It's about the Seattle Department of Construction and Inspections, failing its most basic duty protecting tenants. We're talking about families living in squalor, we're talking about safety hazards ignored, we're talking about a city where the American dream is getting bulldozed by bureaucratic incompetence. The SDCI, the supposed watchdog, has become a toothless chihuahua, all bark and no bite. Unresolved complaints pile up, a monument to their inefficiency. Tenants are left stranded, facing down landlords, left to navigate a system designed to crush them. This isn't just about housing, it's about accountability. It's about demanding better from the people we entrust to keep us safe. This is about a city on the brink, where the Emerald City's shine is dulled by the tears of its forgotten residents. It's time to hold the SDCI accountable, it's time for reform, it's time for action. Let's talk numbers, Seattle. Because behind the human cost lies a mountain of data, cold, hard proof of the SDCI's failures. This isn't just about housing, it's about accountability. It's about demanding better from those we trust to keep us safe. This is about a city on the brink. A city where the Emerald City's shine has been dulled by the tears of its forgotten residents. And it doesn't stop there. Let's talk transparency. Well, that would be a one-sided conversation because the SDCI doesn't know a thing about that. You think that every case would have a last inspection date or a last inspection result? Well, guess what? People, guess what? Seattle, not one date, has been entered for completion or a result of your complaint of your housing. But Weeds complaints, they get all the attention. Weeds added another 3,000 cases. But guess what? Only 9% of tenant complaints were resolved. The rest, arbitrarily closed, notices of violation with no follow-ups, cases shelved, forgotten. Bravo, SDCI. As of now, you're sitting on over 8,000 unresolved cases. That's not a backlog. That's a full-blown crisis. These aren't just numbers. They're families living with mold, leaking roofs, no hot water, and fire hazards hiding in the shadows. These are real people, ignored, their voices lost in a sea of bureaucracy. So, where's the money geoing, SDCI? Where's the accountability? The time for excuses is over, the time for action is now. It's time to demand answers, to hold the SDCI accountable. It's time for reform. It's time for action. Let's talk numbers, Seattle. Behind the human cost lies a mountain of evidence. Cold, hard proof of SDCI's failures. In 2023 alone, over 3,000 housing complaints were filed. Think about that. That's 3,000 instances of potential danger, of living conditions spiraling downward. We are cutting inspection efforts this year with millions of dollars still being siphoned into the SDCI's inspections budget with no promise of better systems, better inspection turnouts, actual figures that show inspections have been made and done and taken care of to the satisfactory of the tenant who made the complaint to begin with. We still have over 8,000, almost 9,000 complaints unresolved. That's not a backlog, that's a full-blown crisis. These aren't just numbers, these are families living with mold, with leaky roofs, with fire hazards lurking in the shadows. These are people ignored, their pleas for help lost in the bureaucratic abyss. But it gets worse. Remember those resolved cases? A recent audit showed that a staggering 40% of them lacked proper follow-up. Meaning even when the SDCI bothers to move, it's often an empty gesture, a performance of action, not the real deal. This isn't just incompetence, it's a systemic failure, a betrayal of public trust. The numbers don't lie, Seattle. The SDCI is failing, and it's failing you. Meet Samantha, the mother of a newborn. They move into their new apartment, but everything smells kind of weird, and so they ask the landlord to send someone to verify that everything was okay, that the carpets were cleaned, only to be ignored by Metropolitan Management, who, by the way, have 2 properties on the top 10 most reported rental buildings in the city. And then months later she rips up the carpet and finds feces and urine under the rotting wood that would. be the floor that she put her baby on every day who was getting sick daily, and couldn't figure out why she contacted the SDCI 6 months ago. Silence. Her case, still pending. Meet John, a disabled veteran, forced to navigate a staircase with a broken handrail. He filed a complaint. The SDCI's response? A boilerplate email, lost in his inbox. These aren't isolated incidents, Seattle. They are the norm. The SDCI has become a black hole, swallowing pleas for help, spitting out indifference. Tenants, trapped in a cycle of neglect, are left to fend for themselves. Landlords know the system is broken. They exploit it, emboldened by the SDCI's inaction. They know they can ignore complaints, knowing the chances of consequence are slim to none. The human cost of this negligence, it's immeasurable. It's the fear in a child's eyes, worried their home isn't safe. It's the despair of a senior citizen, ignored and forgotten. It's the erosion of trust, of faith in the very institutions meant to protect us. This isn't just about inconvenience, Seattle. This is about lives at stake. Unresolved notices of violation, those ignored pleas for help, have consequences. Remember the 2019 gas explosion in Seattle's Greenwood neighborhood? It leveled 3 buildings and injured 9 people. The cause? A severed gas line, ignored despite previous complaints. This is what happens when negligence reigns. This is what happens when the SDCI prioritizes paperwork over people. It's not just about mold and leaky faucets anymore, is it? It's about preventable disasters waiting to happen. It's about a city sitting on a powder keg of its own making. The SDCI's inaction is a ticking time bomb. And the longer we wait, the higher the stakes become. This isn't hyperbole, Seattle. This is the reality you've allowed to fester. It's time to wake up. It's time to demand better.